Hey everyone, it's Alex, and welcome to the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 15 decks in Marvel Snap. This week we're talking about 5 high voltage decks. We also got 10 ranked decks, and before we get started with those, actually, first of all, make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, all that YouTube cringe. But honestly, there is a brand new promo code for Marvel Snap that you can redeem in the Marvel Snap store. Go to marvelsnap.com, go to the store, and then go down to the bottom where it's redeem, and you have to type in the code PC Anniversary 25. You'll get a T-Rex emote. You also get a premium mystery border. This might be just a regular mystery border actually, and a premium mystery variant. And yeah, for free, just for the anniversary of the PC launch of Marvel Snap. So yeah, definitely go do that if you haven't already. I don't know how long it's going to be available for, so just do it right now, right? And with that being said, let's get started with the high voltage decks, and everything's going to be kind of down below where you can, you can skip along. If you don't want high voltage decks, you can skip to the ranked decks, whatever. But we're going to talk about Fallen Nimrod first. Fallen Nimrod running a 62% win rate, and this is utilizing the Fallen one alongside Nimrod and Kid Omega. This particular shell looks like it's performing particularly good at 62%. I have really enjoyed Symbiote Spider-Man. It's been one of my favorite cards recently, as you have learned with my Galactus shenanigans. But it's also an excellent place for the Fallen one to be utilized as well. It also works naturally with Nimrod because Symbiote Spider-Man is actually better than Shuri in a Nimrod shell. A lot of people might not even realize that, but if you look at the numbers, Symbiote Spider-Man is better than Shuri and Nimrod, right? So this does provide a lot of opportunities to kind of utilize the new cards, get that weekend mission done, and do it in high voltage nonetheless. And then going on to high voltage number 4, I guess, the second deck we're talking about before in the ranked order. Ongoing. We got Ongoing here, and this is a version running the Astral Projection to kind of love tap into either the Cannonball or, of course, into the Spectrum. This is utilizing the Cannonball Mercury, Cannonball obviously being on reveal, not ongoing, but everything else is going to be ongoing. I love the addition of something like a Mr. Fantastic Captain Carter alongside a Moonstone. I think that's pretty cool, and Stardust does make this list as a little bit of tech for what we're seeing in the high voltage. And Ebony Mod's an absolute carry in high voltage. You can always play it, essentially, and it's going to be 1/7 power, which is absolutely astronomical. So, relatively straightforward deck for ongoing. And then if you want to get the Galactus First Steps Edition deck done, or Weekend Mission done in the high voltage, we have a series of tech decks, and this is going to be the top 3 for high voltage, according to Untapped-based statistics. What you have here is Galactus First Steps with a bunch of tech cards, including the likes of Negasonic. You do have your Stardust, your Cannonball, your, well, Red Guardian. It's a whole bunch of tech slop alongside a Wiccan shell. Wiccan is proven to be very popular now, both in ranked and in high voltage, particularly in high voltage because you can often play him on turn 1 and get that extra energy. But long story short, if you're looking to get some Gman action done in high voltage, this is a shell that you can do it. And then going into the number 2, it is a Patriot Tech based deck using Ultron. This should surprise nobody, and it's also a pretty good opportunity for people who are stuck with that like win 3 locations cringe mission, which keeps happening. And I actually did voice my opinion in the official Snap Discord saying, like, guys, we got to get rid of this mission. It's awful and it makes the game feel terrible. So just know that that feedback has been presented to Second Dinner on your behalf, using my opportunities to kind of communicate that. And so yeah, if you're looking to get those types of missions done, this Ultron deck does do the job. And again, it does feature some tech pieces like Negasonic, Mercury, and Cannonball, because why not? Apparently everyone's playing them. Talk about nerf candidates, but they've dodged nerfs so far. Then we got Wiccan Tech. This one here is actually pretty fun, and I like this design, and I was playing it because, first of all, a lot of people are holding chonky cards, and so Morph feels ironically playable. The other thing is Echo can provide some counterplay against the Tribunal plays, and Tribunal is also a pretty good way to try to win those 3 locations if you happen to get that mission, but Echo completely stomps that. You do have the Sunspot, which is kind of cool because you do find yourself often skipping turns in like turn 1 if you don't quite get the Wiccan play or whatever. Shauna tends to fill the board very effectively, which you want to do, and then Sarah obviously is fantastic. So long story short, Wiccan Tech alongside chunky cards like Black Cat and stuff like that, which you can often play with relative ease, looks like it's doing pretty well in high voltage, which is going to take us into ranked. The first deck we're going to be talking about this week for ranked is going to be a budget-friendly negative deck, which is utilizing the newly buffed White Tiger alongside a Black Panther Zola Wong shell. Is this a little high risk and hoping Shang-Chi doesn't exist? Yes. but it's also running a 0.31% cube rate, a relatively low win rate at 52%. But again, we're talking about budget decks. Sometimes they don't clap as hard. The last prior week deck that we talked about, which was the Destroy deck, still doing phenomenally well, but I try to feature something a little different. It'd be easy if I just featured the Destroy deck every single week, right? But if you're looking to play something on a budget, this is going to be able to do that pretty effectively. It does have multiple lines, and when I was testing this deck, the buffed White Tigers are pretty significant in power. And I mean, they're kind of choreographed, to be honest with you, but still, you generally want to clap some cheeks with this by snapping on turn 2 when you have your Psylocke into Mr. Negative, and then you're usually able to kind of siphon 2 cubes away each time, because very few people want to stay long term against a negative deck, especially one that's not playing many ongoings. You do have the Iron Man here, but for the most part, you're going after that Wong, Zola, Panther combination as well, right? And naturally, you do have the Jane Foster for your inverted Iron Man Mystique shenanigans. So that's going to be number 10. That's the budget-friendly deck. And then C2, now this deck actually has the highest cube rate of everything this week at 0.69. It's running a 56% win rate. C2 is great, man. And one of the absolute carry cards here, for those that might not realize, is Lasher. Lasher is phenomenal. And it's great to see Storm seeing play again. And C2 is bringing back Storm, which you absolutely love to see. Things like Mr. Sinister here are absolutely carrying. Echo, interesting tech as well. And of course, Shadow King does provide a lot of opportunities to clap some cheeks, which I got to stop saying. Someone actually commented last week, like, Alex, you said clapping cheeks like 9 times in last week's Decks of the Week video. For what it's worth, it's one of the highest honors I can provide to a deck, but I do recognize that I'm saying it way too often. So I'm going to try and like curve it down a little bit. I can't make any promises though. It's just part of the vernacular. I just can't help myself. But long story short, Shadow King is fantastic tech. And another key thing about Storm being great for C2 is obviously provides opportunities to turn off things like Xandar or whatever, things that like kind of buff locations, Mirror Island, things you don't want to play on as a Cerebro player. That's going to be C2. Going into the number 8, we do have a Fallen 1 deck. We have a Fallen 1 deck doing pretty good at a 56% win rate and a 0.44 cube rate. Solid numbers overall. Very similar to the high voltage deck that we were talking about here. Instead, on this side, you are looking at the Shuri Symbiote Spider-Man Fallen 1 combination here. I like the deck, and I think that in particular, the usage of Pixie is fun. When I was testing this list, I almost wanted to switch out Cosmo for Mobius and Mobius, not only just because I think that Mobius and Mobius is a very natural card for Pixie, but it's also an opportunity to counteract some of the shenanigans going on with discounts and stuff like that, whether it be Mr. Fantastic or Surge. So if you're missing a card like, for instance, Fastos, you can sub Fastos out for Mobius and Mobius. I think that's probably pretty solid for you if you're looking to play this deck. Especially if you're looking to get that weekend mission done in the ranked ladder. And so this is a pretty solid Fallen 1 deck. And Emperor Hulkling making the list here. Unironically, I'm not a huge fan of Emperor Hulkling because it's usually just Destroyer for me or something super bizarre. But long story short, you love to see it, man. I like seeing some interesting cards seeing play. But if you don't want to play Hulkling, you can even just put in Doomers or Magneto. It's very straightforward to switch out a 12 drop or a 12 power 6 drop at the very least. Going to number 7, we do have Gman First Steps. You're looking to get that weekend mission done. You don't want to do it high voltage. You want to do it on ranked. 57% win rate, 0.34 cube rate. A little on the modest side from the cube rate. We do have much better cube rates. The C2 is like double this, but still pretty solid. But what's carrying here is, quite frankly, the usage of these tech cards that have been kind of dominating, right? The Negasonics, the Fenrises, the Cannonballs. That disruption is so good. You also do have the Iron Patriot, which is a great follow-up, which is great to have followed up by something like a Negasonic, which feeds into the Fenris Wolf. It's also a Wiccan Shell, which utilizes Quicksilver. Can you believe, man? Quicksilver, Wiccan. There was a time when Quicksilver was considered the worst card in Marvel Snap. Now it's an activator for something like Wiccan alongside what have become almost completely overpowered 2-drops. Like the 2-drops in Snap are insane now. So yeah, this shell is definitely good if you're looking to get that weekend mission done and you want to play some G-Man. Our next set of decks does feature a new take on Agatha. It's actually Agatha and Eson. This is actually relatively interesting because you do have, of course, you have the Corvus sides, you have the Hellas side here, you got the Blink. A lot of interesting things happening in this deck. Now, if you want to play just traditional, old school, standard, I want to say old school, but it's like 2 weeks old, Agatha and Redshift, you absolutely can do that. But I want to show you a little bit of an interesting new cook. This one here does utilize Hela unironically, and if this gets popular, you do have Stardust available to you, but that's a whole other discussion. But notably, Eson can actually pull down the Ebony Blade, which is fantastic, because sometimes you just don't want to commit the energy to the Ebony Blade. You're like, I don't want to pull that. I don't want to pay the energy for the Enemy Blade. You generate it just by playing Black Knight on 1. Redshift is going to pump the Agatha out of the hand, and then Eson's like, boy, that's free real estate. That's 14 power, right? So it's quite a bit. So long story short, Eson Agatha running a 57% win rate and a 0.41 cube rate, but admittedly a really low sample size. I think this deck on Untapped was quite literally a 200 game deck, which is very small. It's like the small threshold I usually search for. So anyways, it's riskier, but it's fun. And if you want to try something new, you certainly can. And then we go just classic Scream here. 57% win rate, 0.46 cube rate, still absolutely solid. And there's nothing fancy here. Like, this is just traditional Scream. And instead of running Cannonball here, you do have the option of running Arrow if you so choose. A little bit of a different design. Cannonball tends to just trade the location straight up, though, so that's kind of a little more beneficial. But long story short, you also have the disruption of Juggernaut. The more I've been playing with Juggernaut, it's funny because I actually talked about this with Husky. I don't remember if we were on camera or not. And he was mentioning, he's like, I think Juggernaut might be completely OP. And I was like, you know what? Not what I think about it. The more I play Juggernaut, the more I realize that Juggernaut might be one of the most OP heroes in Marvel Snap right now that like kind of gets no attention. Juggernaut and Fenris in particular, I think are absolute banger cards that have really like not been in the, well, Fenris has been in the spotlight lately, but like even when it was originally reviewed, I didn't think it got the respect it deserves. And I think Juggernaut right now is a low-key lane winner that people don't respect either. And, it's cool to see him being utilized in a deck like Scream because not only are you activating things like Hydra Stomper, but like that is an extremely disruptive play. Juggernaut on turn 6 is incredibly disruptive. It will win games, right? It absolutely will win games. So Scream, classic deck if you want to give it a shot. Going to number 4 here, we do have Toxic Wiccan, a new take on Toxic. It's been a while since we've talked about Ajax here. Unironically, running Quicksilver Speed. Faster than fast, quicker than quick. He is Wiccan because Wiccan, with that 2 extra energy, you can make a lot of magic happen. It also allows you on turn 6 to play Ajax and Hazmat together, which is particularly valuable if you have the Wiccan opportunity. It's also notable that if you have to, you can even get Ajax on 5, and then you're able to do things like Hazmat, Hazmat and Diamondback, or you can even use that Malekith right later in the game because you have the extra energy. So really like Toxic Wiccan. I think that extra 2 energy in particular works really well with the combination of Ajax and Hazmat on turn 6. So if you're going to play something a little different, you can definitely try this. Going into our top 3, we do have a straight up Cannonball disruption deck. Shouldn't surprise anyone. Cannonball's absolute peak popularity right now. 59% win rate, 0.34 cube rate. The cube rate's kind of modest, but the win rate's very high. This is utilizing all the cringe cards in Marvel Snap, essentially. You have Fenris, you got Mercury, you have Negasonic, Gladiator, Cannonball, Alioth, Shongers. This is basically like, I hate everyone who plays Marvel Snap, and so I play this deck. It's just, I don't know, man. Oh, don't forget Red Guardian. I almost forgot Red Guardian. My bad, right? But yeah, so this is like, I hate everyone deck, and then you just play it and you clap cheeks, get some. I did it again. I said clap cheeks. I said I was going to try to stop doing it. But yeah, it's a little cringe, but it's going to get the job done. But it's not even the cringiest deck we're going to talk about here as we get into the top 3. And I think Marvel Snap's development team has some work to do with some meta balance as we move on to the next shells. But yeah, this should surprise nobody. Ton of disruption. I like to see Merlin making the deck, though. Of all the cards here, at least Merlin's not pissing people off. Maybe it pisses you off, but I think Merlin is unbelievable. I think it's such a good card. I feel like it's being underplayed. Merlin's fantastic. I love Merlin. I like seeing him in a top 3 deck. And here's the surprise. I know. Surtur, 59% win rate, 0.42 cube rate. And honestly, not that many games. I think it was 400 according to Untapped. Seriously, Surtur's really good. I talked about it, I think, last week. I've talked about it many times here. You have Enchantress Tech, which is obviously useful for this particular shell. Turns off things like Starbrand, etc. But it's also notable that you crush things like ongoing decks. You crush things like C2 and C3 or whatever, C5 if you're Dexter. So like if you're playing Marvel Snap and you want to rank up, Surtur's a good option, man. And obviously it's a little susceptible to Shongers, of course. You're playing a lot of Chonks, right? But that can't be perfect and infallible, right? So long story short, I think Surtur is legitimately playable right now. Probably seeing a little less play than it should. But long story short, number 2, we're looking at Surtur. As we go to our number 1 deck of the week, a reminder, hit that like button, support the content. and support the demand that we probably have to nerf end of turn. Like, let's be honest, they went after a little bit before, but I think that Havoc took a stray. Havoc's not the problem, let's be honest, guys. It's pretty much everything else. Now, thankfully, this version does not run the Prodigy. There are Prodigy versions too. We've talked about those in the past. But this version actually has a higher cube rate than the Prodigy version currently, and so I featured it. At least it's a little different. It's running the Mobius and Mobius. It's running Stardust. And yeah, Juggernaut makes this deck as well. And maybe that's part of the win rate, honestly. Like, you get rid of the Prodigy, yeah, okay, Prodigy makes everything go boom, 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 and goes super high. But maybe you just need, like, I just want to trade a location. I want to guarantee a win there. And Juggernaut does that, right? Juggernaut really does provide you with a lot of utility there. And yeah, Stardust making a top deck, which I did not really anticipate on my initial reviews of Stardust, but there it is. We'll have to see if it lasts, but long story short, a little bit of a new take on end of turn, but still end of turn, top of the meta. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. Good luck on the ladder, and we'll see you on the next one.